Class, we're in session. Today's topic, this 86 Monte Carlo SS. We're going to be doing a paint reproduction graphic of the sticker kit that was offered on the car when you could purchase them brand new. Now, this client has bought us two cars, or at least this is the second car that we've done for this particular client. And so with that said, I've done several of these cars over the years. Let me plug right now and say that I'm probably going to come up with a a paint graphic reproduction kit for this particular car, because I've gotten so many people over the years that have come to me wanting these sticker kits done in paint versus a sticker. And they do still offer the sticker kits for them for the purists. Hey, that's the way you want to do it, no problem. But I can tell you right now, I've done a couple. As a matter of fact, there's one that I did. The client had me match up the colors exactly. I mean, exactly to match the stickers. And when I got done with it, none of his homeboys believed that it was paint. They all thought it was a sticker. But anyways, now to do this, you saw that I had the vinyls. That's the part I'm going to provide to you. But also you're going to need 4 different size tape rolls. All right. And the first 2 most important ones are going to be 1/4-inch green and 1/8-inch green. You're going to want both of those in crepe, CERPE. It's a paper-based tape. And the reason being is because of the way that it turns. It has excellent tact. It flows right nicely over the wheel wells, all of that good stuff. And so you're going to want to use that green paper-based tape versus the vinyl or that harder plastic based tape that they do offer. Now, the 1/4-inch is going to be your main line that you're going to follow, and it's going to run the entire perimeter of the car. Over the wheel well arches, all of that stuff, right? And you're going to want to put it 1/4 of an inch below that character line that's on the lower part of the car. That is key, because if you don't get that right, it won't line up with that right there that you're seeing on that rear bumper, that protrusion. The 1/4-inch is the only pinstripe line that's supposed to ride right above the protrusion. The other 2 thicker tapes that I'm going to mention, they go below it. And the other 2 sizes that you're going to need are going to be 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. So those are the 4 sizes that you're going to need in total. Now, the 1/8 inch is going to ride up against your 1/4 inch when you run the perimeter of the car. You're going to put an 1/8 inch right up against it, and you're going to want to try to run it as precisely as possible. You don't want any gaps, no blades, if you will, in between the tape edge from edge to edge on the tape. You're going to put an 1/8 inch line all the way around the car. That's going to be your separator. Then you're going to come in, you're going to put your 1/2 inch. And the same thing, you want it to run as close as possible to that 1/8 inch. No blades, no little wobbles up and down. Your eye they will detect them if they're too big or if they vary too much. And then you're going to go ahead and run another 1/8 inch, and then you're going to put your 3/4 inch at the very bottom. And once you have all of those laid out, go ahead and run a piece of 1/4 inch around the entire perimeter of your graphic. And that's going to serve as your masking point for what you see here now, where you can mask your paper and put your paper on there. All right. And then you're going to go ahead and remove the 1/4 inch, the 1/2 inch, and the 3/4 inch. And it should leave 2 1/8 inch lines, but 3 separate graphics. Now, I like to go ahead and mask everything up so I can shoot it all at one time. And that brings me to iterate this key point. You have to mix your paint up correctly. And the way that you do it is you want the paint to be just thick enough to cover, but thin enough to not leave an excessive edge buildup. Let me state that again. You want it thick enough to cover robustly, like cover up whatever it is you're shooting, but thin enough to not build up excessive paint edge, because that'll kill you. If you have too much paint edge, needless to say, you're going to have to come back in. You're going to have to do some sanding on your graphic. That's dangerous. Or at the very least, you're going to have to re-clear, or vice versa. I'm sorry. You're going to have to re-clear, or at the very least, you're going to have to do some sanding on your graphic. And both of those options are just too much. It's just too much time. Usually the client doesn't want to pay for that type of stuff. You know, if it's a show car, they will, but generally on a daily driver like this, you know, that's not what they're trying to factor into their budget. No matter how much they love the car, they're just not trying to factor that into the budget. And so you have to have the skills to be able to give them what they want, but still not break the bank on their end and not kill you on your end for providing the service or the talent. Now, once you get that done, the way I spray is I'll spray the light color first. Then I'll go ahead and back mask, and this is where that 1/8 inch tape comes into play at. The 1/8 inch gaps in between each color. You back mask onto that. So you run your paper line and cover the lightest color that you just put. You cover that up, and then you shoot your second color. Now, as I go down the progression of colors, because the colors go from light to dark, as I go down the progression of colors, I'm not masking up the color that falls underneath, or in other words, the color that's going to be at the very bottom. Those graphic lines, I'm not masking that up. And I'm not masking that up because I'm confident in the way that I spray and knowing how I mix the paint to know that by the time I get to that last color, that one at the very bottom, that technically at that point will have 3 layers of color on top of it, it's still not going to leave an edge. And that just takes practice. I'm telling you, it just takes practice to mix that paint up to where you can do that. Now, it will have an edge. There's just no way around it. It will have a little edge, but it's going to be so minimal as far as like how many microns thick it is. It'll be so minimal that you won't see it by the time clear flows over it. It'll virtually be gone. And I'll show you how to deal with it because you're going to want to knock it down, but I'll show you how to deal with it a little later. Right here, we're just doing some unmasking. Take your time. I'm old school. I like to use a razor blade. Some of these new school cats like to use special tools and all of that. You know, I'm always going to be old school. I'm probably always going to use a razor blade until I can't and my hands just are too jittery. God forbid. That's way off, hopefully. But take your time and unmask it. Now, on your graphics, I want to say take your time and pay attention to all of your graphics, because I have, like, you know, unmasked the cars and graphics like this, and then left a little bit of vinyl, you know, some of the masking underneath the paint, and then went ahead and cleared everything. And then when I'm, you know, doing my final inspection of the car, looking at everything, I'm like, why does that graphic look like that? Why is that thing so much thicker than all the other parts of the graphic? And it's because I left a little piece of vinyl under there. Now, when that happens, guess what? It has to be re-cleared. Hey, even a squirrel falls out of trees. You just don't see it all the time. With that said, once it all is flashed off, and I generally let it gas off for about an hour. An hour is plenty of time. It should be nice and stiff enough. Those edges are nice and stiff enough to where you can come back in and do what you need to do to knock them down. But here, I'm just showing how that graphic looks even before we get to that part. And it should look nice and clean. And you can see how nice and clean it looks. Now, here's what I'm talking about. See that? You can just see a little bit of edge on it. Just a little bit. Not much, but enough. Enough to where if you didn't take this next precaution or do this next step, you would still see that edge. See? Just a little bit. It's not a lot. Just enough. Just a little bit of edge. But this is all you got to do. All you got to do, provided you mixed the paint right and you sprayed it correctly, take a tack cloth and you're just going to go over all of the graphic work. That's it. That edge should be so minimal and so light that that tack cloth can wipe it right off. And see, look, you might have to go back and rewind and compare the two parts of the video to see the difference. But now painters know what they're looking at, and you can see there's no edge. The edge is gone. And here on this part, you'll be able to see it more clearly. Look at this corner. See that? See how there's no edge? I mean, it's like the paint is almost flat right up against the surface of the car. And that's what you want, because now you can go ahead and proceed to glass it, baby. And you don't even have to worry about it. And that's the part that everybody likes, you know. When you get to this part, you're on a downhill slope. And it doesn't matter to me if I did expensive airbrush job or if I'm just doing some simple graphics like this on the car. This is so exciting to me when I start to glass over that graphic work. And keep in mind, this is after one coat of clear. I shoot all of my videos after one coat of clear. If that first coat looks good, all you got to do is do your job again. Shoot that next coat. Make it wet. But take a look at that graphic. You can see how clean it looks. It looks just like the sticker. See that? And look at, here it is again. See how you can't see any edge? You can't see any protrusions of that paint off the surface of that car. It looks like a sticker, but it's paint, which will subsequently underneath that clear last him forever. Now, you're about to see me shoot it outside, and we did put 2 coats of clear on it. This isn't a show car. It's going to be functional. He's going to drive it, you know, so 2 coats of clear. High solid clear is all we use. It's definitely enough protection. Also, I did opt to go ahead and do a wet sand and cut and polish on the hood and trunk. I mean, I do want it to look as good as I can, make it look, given the budget that we had. And with all of that said, hey, CIK Customs, this is what we do. If you found this information informative, by all means, give us a like, a share, and a follow. Definitely. And DIYers, stay tuned. I'm going to be handing out info, getting that sticker kit ready for you guys. CIK Customs, baby. It ain't custom till it's sick.